website. It's pretty full.
Well, why don't we just go ahead and
Find something good. I got one already. If there's leftovers, I'll take one for Chris. She'll file.
She'd love it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Good morning. So you're about to be elevated, right, to senior warden, or?
I'm done.
You're done. Okay, that's better.
Yes, I am.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order. It is, what do we do first? Oh, we pray first. Let's pray. The Lord be with you. Let us pray. Oh God, you made us in your own image and redeemed us through Jesus, your Son. Look with compassion on the whole human family. Take away the arrogance and hatred which infect our hearts. Break down the walls that separate us. Unite us in bonds of love, and work through our struggle and confusion to accomplish your purposes on earth, that in your good time all nations may serve you in harmony around your heavenly throne. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. Now we need to appoint a clerk for the meeting, and Margie Palmer has agreed to do that. This is Margie's last annual meeting as the clerk of the vestry, so someone else gets to do this next year. So just see if the Spirit moves you in that direction. I may have a motion to approve Margie as the clerk of the meeting. Karen Kirbyson, and a second by Nancy Wright. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? You get to do it then? Great. I'll give you just a second to approve the agenda. It is modeled on the agenda from every annual meeting before, so far as I can tell. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda? Lori, can I have a second? Nadine? All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Now, if you remember, a year ago we did this. We need to approve the minutes from last year. Take a second to look through them. A few eyes have already been on them. I'll give you just a couple of minutes while a few more people join us. Could I have a motion to accept the minutes from last year? Holly Williams, Mike Palmer seconds. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Great. Moving right along. Okay, before we dive into comments, we need to take attendance at this meeting, and we have in the past passed around a sign-up sheet. But in the last couple of years, we've started. You know how you leave church for a couple of years and you come back and I know I've been going to church with that person for 10 years, but I cannot remember their name. This is our free-for-all. You get to, everyone needs to stand up and say what their name is and look around. You don't have to introduce yourselves. You don't have to say anything about yourselves. Just take a second to look, because we forget and we need to be reminded. So we're going to start here with Karen, and then we'll just go around the room. That way Margie can take roll. Go ahead.
Holly Williams.
Michael Meredith.
Are we going too fast? Okay.
John Walker.
Jennifer Walker.
I'm Doug Murphy from St. Mary's.
Amy Staska, and you don't know.
Alan Stebbins.
Sharon Catherine.
Can you say that a little bit louder? Sorry.
Karen Zane.
D-E-N-K.
Lydia Eccles.
Larry Isles.
Dave Radford.
Dale Head from St. Mary's. Anne Zaucha. Karen Trout. Danny Rosenthal. Nancy Wright. Dr. Hoppy.
I'll be here.
Scott Zaucha. Thank you all. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Can you introduce yourself, please? Yeah. She knows where the money is going. All right, we will, one reminder, if you speak in this meeting, we are live streaming. It's a commitment of ours to make sure that all of our services and meetings, major meetings, are available at home. So if we have conversation or questions later, everyone, even if your voice carries, needs to speak into the mic. We made an exception for introductions. And then if you are presenting at some point, you need to use the lectern mic because it is a much better microphone, or picks up better than the one that I am using. So with that, we'll turn it over to Dick Hatton.
Howard Thurman, the esteemed theologian, wrote the following: "Don't ask what the world needs, ask what makes you come alive, and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive." I've tried to follow this advice in my professional life and in my life as a volunteer. When I was asked by Father Scott last year to stand for election as warden, I tried to decide whether being a warden at St. Anne's would make me come alive. I already felt energized by my work leading the mobile food pantry and helping feed the 180 families every 2 weeks on the parking lot above the church. I'd already felt jazzed by the opportunity to sing in the back row of the church with a group of singers in our church choir. Chances seemed good that I'd come alive with this work of the vestry as a warden. I've not been disappointed. Working with Jonelle Powers and Father Scott has been a rare privilege for me. Our work has been challenging and rewarding as we attempt to chart a new course for St. Anne's and for St. Mary's in spreading the gospel to more people in McHenry County. I'm eagerly looking forward to the next 12 months with anticipation and excitement. God's Spirit is working in and through us in this small but powerful church. If you're asked to serve as a warden or as a member of the vestry or in any other capacity in this church, I encourage you to give it a try. Let God work through you in spreading the good news of Jesus. Allow yourself to come alive, because the world needs people like you to come alive.
How do you enter the water? Do you put your big toe in to test the temperature and then slowly enter? Let your body adjust to the temperature inch by inch? Do you jump into the deep end all at once and get it over with? As for me, I tend to be a bit of a creeper. Then at some point, usually somewhere between knee height, waist height, I go all in. I realize I can just get it over with and just enjoy the water. As I said in my annual report, I spent most of my time working on the discernment process this year. I don't want to rehash all of that here, but suffice it to say, it was a big project that bit by bit evolved into a working agreement between St. Anne's and St. Mary's. Now, when we were first presented with this idea, I have to admit, it wasn't really a pool I wanted to jump into. I was definitely, ever so cautiously, an inch by incher at first, letting myself get used to the idea before jumping in. But I'm proud of the work we created so far this year. I'm thankful to have been part of that process, and I'm grateful to those who jumped in or waited alongside me. I want to thank a few people in this process. Father Scott, as much as we would like to think this position is not all about you in the long run, It is impossible to separate out the fact that it is about you in the moment. Throughout this process, you managed to lead us without a heavy hand and to have faith in us to let the discernment process play out as it will, whatever that meant for you. Dick, thank you for being forward-thinking, faith-filled, and a really good listener. I know it's been a busy year for you, as you mentioned in your speech, but you showed common strength in every meeting and discussion. To coin a phrase from the old priest in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when it came to finding a junior warden, we chose wisely. To my fellow vestry members, thank you for not only keeping an open mind, but for openly speaking your mind and contributing to thoughtful discussions during our joint and separate vestry meetings. Because of you, I'm still excited to stay involved and see where all of this leads. To those past vestry members who attended that first joint vestry meeting, thank you for sharing your insight and wisdom. This meeting helped identify similarities and differences between our two churches and set a positive tone for a path forward. And to all of you who stayed one Sunday after church to attend our facilitated group meeting, we really appreciated and valued your honest opinions and any expressed concerns about this process. Your input helped us continue to build a working plan. So yes, we've come a long way, but this is still a work in progress, and we have more to do to fine-tune our agreement, to move forward, and to continue to monitor our progress and make sure this really is where we're called to go. With the creation of a full-time shared priest position, we are better equipped to keep testing the waters over the next few years. As part of that, I've agreed to remain part of a smaller committee reporting to the vestries to figure out what our next steps are. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to spend all my time talking about the discernment process, but it really was where I spent most of my time last year. But what else is truly memorable this year? For my part, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the choir and the tireless effort of Terry Emmerich, our director, who guided us through some beautifully challenging music and encouraged us to sing and rejoice with a newfound fervor. It really was a blessing to be part of that group. It's a blessing to continue to be part of that group and under her direction. So thank you, Terry, and my fellow choir members for making Thursday evenings and Sunday mornings so joyful. My direct involvement in other meetings and projects, while perhaps a little less memorable in the grand scheme of things this past year, was also necessary to the overall functioning of church business, like finance meetings. I really hate to admit this, but my eyes tend to glaze over when talking about numbers. Sorry, Ruth Cotton. But thank you for what you do, because the heart and soul of what you put into keeping up with our church finances is just phenomenal. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you. We also formed or reinstituted several committees this year: Altar Guild, Outreach, Parish Life, Building and Grounds, and the 90th anniversary committees. We also started the children's liturgy, and don't we love those Sundays when it's a bustle with little children running around? And coffee hour was back. So you know what else was very memorable for me this year, especially as our church services opened up? It was seeing how many of you stepped in and stepped up to take on new roles. How joyful to look out on a Sunday morning to see so many of you joining committee meetings. How wonderful to look into the kitchen and see someone bustling about and sharing their goodies with us. It told me that we are back. We pushed through rough times and held together. There was a renewed freshness to it all, something that pre-pandemic I'm pretty sure I didn't give much thought to. But seeing everyone working together for the good of our church was inspiring. So thank you to all of you who took on new roles this year. I learned a lot on this journey. 2 years ago, I would have never pictured myself as St. Anne's Senior Warden, but I'm thankful I was given the opportunity to serve. I've learned so much about how important it is to step up and allow yourself to grow into whatever role you're called to do. Each of us can make a difference in our own way, big or small. Whether you dip your big toe in, ease into waist height, or jump right in, your service is always welcome here. If you're still not sure what you can do or how you can help, ask someone. If you look around you, I'm pretty sure everybody here has been on something or done something in this church. If you haven't already noticed, This is a church that functions well because we are in an involved community. As a small church, that usually means all hands on deck, and we need your hands to do our work. So as my term is ending, I can't help but think about a song my husband used to listen to before each of his chemo treatments. He put on his earbuds, settle into his chair, and play the same song every time to prepare himself for treatment. For those who knew him, it'd probably come as no surprise it was Jimmy Buffett's song. The final verse says, "According to my watch, the time is now. The past is dead and gone. Don't try to ignore it. Just bow your head. Breathe in, breathe out, move on." So that is what I will do. I'll take a deep breath, pass the baton to Dick, Holly, and the 2023 vestry and move on. I will move on and find new ways to be involved here at St. Anne's. My term as senior warden is over, but my time is now. Thank you for allowing me to jump in. I'll see you at the other end of the pool.
Thank you, Jonelle, and thank you, Dick. I am not, as is my custom, I am not going to give, if I tried to give a speech summarizing the last year, we would be here all day. It's been a heck of a year. So I have just a few highlights and a few brief comments I'd like to add. First, I'd like it to make sure that we draw your attention on this page 3 of the service booklet, the annual report. There are some statistics. I don't want you to spend all day delving into those, but I want to bring a few things to your attention because this is some of our ministry summarized. Number of services that we did, weddings, baptisms, burials, our average Sunday attendance. Jonelle said we're back. We have started again where we were before COVID. When I started here almost 5 years ago, we had an average of 45 people in church on a Sunday. Over the next 2 years, we had brought that up to about 60, and then COVID happened, and we're right back where we started. So let's do it again. We're gonna keep growing. I'm delighted every time I see new faces in church, even brand new faces that stick around for an annual meeting. Hey, that's great. I am unapologetic about my desire to grow the church. That is one of the reasons that y'all called me here, and one of the things that I want to continue to do. That is it, not because it's just a numbers game or not to get extra people in the pews, but because we have something to share with people around us. We have the love and grace of God to share with the people around us. Our online presence, we've started tracking this over the last couple of years. Who knew that we would have 114 YouTube subscribers a couple of years ago? Not something that we thought about. We had 4,762 views on our YouTube channel last year. Who knows? But we have people tuning in every week, and we are putting videos online and reaching people in new ways. I've heard from more than one person that they watched our services on YouTube before they came here. So the ministry that Dave and Ted are doing, keeping that going is extremely important. And then I want to skip down to the bottom of the page, our year-end totals for the mobile pantry, this ministry that started right at the height of COVID when the Northern Illinois Food Bank reached out to us and said, we need a place to distribute food. Can you help? And we said, yes. In the last year, we served just over 3,000 families, 3,500 families at our mobile pantry. We have 45 people in church on a Sunday, right? Like that's a huge ministry and something to be proud of. I really am thankful to Dick for that ministry and to all who show up in so many ways. It is still going. Our numbers dipped for a while and they are right back up. We're serving 180-ish families every other week, and you are invited to join us to pass out food. So pay attention to those. The main thing that I want to say to you today is that I am so proud and delighted by what this congregation has survived and been through in the last few years together. We jumped right out of COVID, right into a church partnership. I sat down with Dick and Jonelle at the beginning of 2022 and said, hey, I had a conversation. How would you feel about working with another church, right? And this was, news to Jonelle, news to Dick, kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, can we just get back to normal? We have been through these very strange cycles in the last few years, and you have handled it with grace and respect for one another. You have told me when you think I'm wrong, which is wonderful, right? I don't want to be a priest in an echo chamber where people just say, yeah, we should do that. You have told me when you think I'm wrong, or told us when you don't think we're going in the right direction, and that's extremely important. And I'm proud of what you've been through and come through together, because our orientation, in times like these, our orientation could be simply backwards. We used to be bigger, we used to be better, we used to be stronger. And y'all have refused that. And so instead, we are looking forward. Y'all are walking with me when I say, I have this wild, harebrained idea. You are standing there committed, you're showing up, you are caring for this church and your neighbors. And I really do feel like our best years are ahead of us. We're going somewhere. And that feels really good after 2 years of just trying to survive. It feels like we're going somewhere again. And I'm just so thankful to be a part of this congregation, that you let me serve among you. I'm not going to thank everyone because we'd have to do roll call again, but I want to give special thanks to the staff. Cynthia holds this place together. When I am sprinting back and forth between places, she finds me, she finds the things I lose. She does ministry, answering the phones, connecting us with people when people call and say, I don't have a place to stay, I don't have gas. That call doesn't come to me. It comes to Cynthia first. She's a first line of ministry, connecting you with one another, connecting us with the world around us, and it's really important work. Terry, who leads our music staff ably and well, and makes that a cohesive presence in our worship. One of the things that we are trying intentionally to create is a parish that is led by the laity, where everything doesn't go through the priest, because that's not a healthy way to be. And so I said at the beginning of the year, I need y'all to take some of this stuff, because during COVID, everything started running through the rector again, and that's not a good and healthy pattern. I said, I need y'all to take this stuff back. So Parish Life, our outreach committee, our buildings and grounds committee, our altar guild, which has been functioning in many, many ways for a long time, ran the church. It's not all about me. It's a lay-led parish with me sort of pulling some of the strings and guiding the way. That is the way forward. That is the way that we survive. Our worship leaders, including our altar servers, Karen, who's up here every Sunday, faithfully serving, the choir, the live stream crew. It is y'all that do this. And that means y'all have to keep doing this, right? And this is an important conversation for us to have, because things do change. Just because you've always been on the altar guild and never been an altar server, it doesn't mean you can't do that. Put on the white robe and come on up. Karen will be glad to show you around. Just because you've always been on the Parish Life Committee doesn't mean you can't show up. Whether you've been here 1 day or 1,000 days, take a step back and, like Dick wisely said, listen to where God is calling you to serve here. Some ministries will come to an end. We will reach a point where we say, we don't have the energy for this anymore. We don't have the critical mass around this anymore. And it will come to an end. And that's a group decision. That's not me shutting things down. But some things will start anew. We need you. If you're new-ish to the Episcopal Church and you don't know, the wardens and the vestry are the board of the church. Vestry members are elected for a 3-year term and serve basically as a board of directors for the church. Wardens are the president and vice president of that board and have other special responsibilities. I meet with the wardens regularly. We talk about every major decision that's happening in the church. Dick and Jonelle have been on the end of countless phone calls about where we're going and what we're doing. And I say this every year, but over the last 5 years, you've had wardens dealing with a new priest straight out of seminary, a COVID pandemic, re-emerging from COVID, partnering with another parish. The wardens of this church do hours and hours and hours of work behind the scenes, and it's vital and important work, and the vestry does as well, supporting the work of the church and connecting us with one another. In a small church like ours, right, 40 people, 45 people on a Sunday, almost everyone is or has been on the vestry, which is all of us leading this church forward together. Thank you to all of you who serve or have served in that way. You have been the trustees that have held this church. You've carried it forward, and we continue to do so. One of the reasons that we are so careful about our finances, that we are so careful about the decisions that we make and what we do, is that we expect this church to be here for the next 90 years, right? We make decisions. The Episcopal Church makes decisions in decades, not in months. And we are trying to plant the seeds for those next 90 years. And the vestry and wardens of this church have taken the long view, and that's made for some tough decisions. And finally, he's not here because he's wrangling 5 children. But if you see Charles, thank him for his ministry. There are lots of times when I pick up the phone and then I drop everything and leave right as we're getting ready to start dinner, right? Or the phone rings and I need to step out of the room. Or it's a Sunday morning and there's no daycare, so Charles is with 5 kids. It is a tough job, and he does it well, and with a good sense of humor. I'll never forget when he first came here and he requested that Terry Emmerich start playing Mariah Carey music in church. She said no, but that's, we'll see. It might happen one of these days. So I want to say, I've said thank you, and read the report for the more formal note, but because we're gathered together, we promised we would say a few words about where we are with St. Mary's, and I want to take a little bit of time to make sure that there is clear communication about where we are with our partnership with St. Mary's. At our December meetings and then an online vote, our vestries agreed to form a 3-year covenant between St. Mary's and St. Anne's. In that covenant, we agreed to hire together one shared full-time priest. Right now, I have 2 separate contracts with 2 separate parishes. Beginning on February 1st, I will have one full-time contract, equally shared, financially shared, completely equivalent between St. Anne's and St. Mary's. That leaves a lot of questions to still be decided. But what we have agreed to is a 3-year covenant in which we have decided that our future is, for the next 3 years at least, is better together. We are more able to carry out our mission together. And in those 3 years, we've committed to talking about what next. How do we partner closer with one another? How do we work in ways that serve our people, the people around us, the people around St. Mary's, the people of St. Mary's? How do we do that together? Because the tide has turned. Church is different than it used to be, and a church of 45 people can no longer support a full-time priest. Once upon a time it could. A church of 45 people can no longer support a full-time priest and a building if we want to actually do something in the world. We could turn all of our money inward and just pay for a priest, but I don't want to go to a church like that, and I don't want to work for a church like that. So instead, we've decided to partner together to be outward-facing. It doesn't change our financial structure much at all. St. Anne's saved a few bucks on my salary by entering into this partnership this year. It does not cost either more or less. We are continuing the conversations, and the vestries will be meeting together every other month through 2023 to talk about how we will share our ministry with one another and where we're headed. And we don't know where we're headed yet. There is no conversation at this point about an endpoint or where we're going to land. We just don't know. We have some ideas, and we've had some conversation about this, and the diocese is involved, but it is a process that will take time, and we are committed to being open about that. And as I said before, feedback is always invited. I have gotten some really supportive feedback from people about this, and I've gotten some feedback that is disappointed, confused, angry, frustrated. Both of those are good. Both of those are a part of the conversation, and both of those have to be a part of the conversation going forward. What I need from both parishes is direct and honest communication as we go forward, so that we can know where your heart is, how you are feeling in this partnership, and where you think we're going. It's critical if we're going to work together. I'm in this for the long haul. I've signed a 3-year contract to be the right. They agreed to have a person together for 3 years, and they said, "Oh, you're going to be that person, right?" Yes, I've signed a 3-year contract to stay. So I'm in this as we figure this out together. We'll have time for questions and answers at the end, but that's the nutshell version of where we are with St. Mary's. Continuing to work together, sharing a priest for 3 years, and considering ways to do our ministry together. I'm aware of time and that we don't want this to be a forever annual meeting, so let me say again how delighted I am to be a part of this. You are doing good, hard work, ministering in the community, caring for one another, and trying to figure out how the heck to be a church in 2023. That is not easy stuff, and I'm really thankful to be here among you. So because we need to get to brass tacks, I'm going to turn it over to Ruth Cotton, who actually knows everything and is our treasurer. So Ruth, will you come on up?
I want to do something first that's not exactly finance related. Altar Guild ladies, stand up, please. Come on. This lovely group of people, and there are a couple more who aren't here, take care of everything behind the altar rail. They polish silver, they polish brass, they clean linens, they clean all the, everything around here. They do all of that work, but you don't see them do it because they don't do it on Sunday. On Sunday, they set things out. And on Sunday, after the service, they go clean up. So they're pretty silent and unseen in doing their job. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You make life around here great. Sorry I'm getting emotional, but they're a very special group of people. I love you all. You're the best. You're the best of the best. Now let's get down to numbers. I'm going to apologize for my voice. I'm a little hoarse today, but oh well, that's it. The numbers are printed on page 13. I'm not going to spend a lot of time. Louder? Okay. Hello. Is that better? The control man said we're good? Okay. We're not going to dive into every number. I think the balance sheet is probably the most important part right now. I'm going to start with our general savings and explain to you that $74,000 is something that we put away in the past. We didn't really store too much in savings this year, but we did receive a lot of cash that built that balance in general. Within the general savings number, there are things that are definitely intended for outreach and for the memorial garden. We have a little bit in restricted is for the youth, is for our youth and for the choir and for feeding the hungry people in this county. The biggest item on there is the investment in the foundation. This year, I think you all read that note that we all got via email from Father Scott that explained that we received a bequest from former members of this church, some very lovely people who were here for a very long time and loved this place and did a lot of things. The Baton family, in their last wishes, gave approximately $125,000 to us. Now, there are some restrictions on that, and the greater portion of the money given, about $75,000, is for the care of the memorial garden. but they also gave us $50,000, $54,000 that was up to the discretion of the Finance Committee and the vestry on how that would be spent. We looked at what we've been doing over these past few years, which is paying a horrendous mortgage that holds us back from doing so many things that we could do for the community and helping people in our parish and people around us and people here in Woodstock. So we decided that we're going to help that mortgage get paid off faster, and of the non-restricted grant in their bequest, we paid down the mortgage principal by $50,000 this year, in addition to what we were paying during our normal monthly mortgage payments. That change makes us so much closer to getting rid of that mortgage that it makes me happy. Since I've been here, I've been terrified by that mortgage. It kind of stayed at the same level for a while, and then we started bringing it down, and we're doing much better. So if you look down at the bottom of that in the liabilities, you'll see that our mortgage balance now is at the end of last year, was $152,000. We pay about $1,800 against that every month, which is good. And it's moving forward. In our mortgage amortization table, let me back up for a second. We had to refinance the mortgage this year. It's a commercial loan. It's renegotiated with the bank every 5 years. So we stepped in a little bit early because interest rates were going up so quickly to lock in a mortgage interest rate that was tolerable for the next 5 years. And we did that, and hopefully, right now it's being amortized over 7 years, and at the end of 7 years, it would be all done. But I'd like to see that happen just a little bit faster. So I have a proposal for everybody. I'm a treasurer, what can I say? If you find an extra 20 or 50 or 100 that you think you could do without and might do some good over here, if you could make a little contribution to the mortgage principal, we would all be so grateful. It would be great to get this thing out of the way. It's not a program. We're not looking for any kind of thing like that. I'm just making that suggestion. Having said that, we were lucky this year to pay down $68,000 of that mortgage principal. It puts the end of this debt in view. It might happen before I die. It'll be great. Let's move on to what happened this year, what our results were. Due to that bequest from the Baton family, it looks like we did really, really well. Well, we did do very well, but it wasn't due to the bequest. The bequest has been partially spent on the mortgage, and the rest of it has been invested in the Diocesan Foundation. It's a fund. They invest the monies, and in fact, we invested it at just before the beginning of the fourth quarter. We put $60,000 into that as an investment. And again, remember, those amounts are restricted to being used for the memorial garden. So we've set it up. Well, I did the paperwork, but the vestry approved it, the wardens approved it. We've set up that fund, and during the fourth quarter of last year, it gained $3,000. It grew $3,000, the value of the investment. So it's pretty cool. Those guys are good downtown at managing funds, so I'm happy about that. But let me go back to the results for this year. It looks like we made a lot of extra money. Well, we did, but we didn't. We didn't make extra money for operations. We did do better than we thought we would. At this time last year, the budget looked like we'd be $7,000 in the hole, and we are, in fact, we made about 10 grand this year, over and above, and that's because of wonderful contributions that we received for the best thing we're doing right now that Dick is driving, which is feeding hungry people in this county and in this town and in this parish, and doing other outreach items. So that's really something we can smile about and be happy about, because it's something that we should be doing. So, having said that, if you'll notice on the rightmost column, the 2023 budget, it looks like we're gonna be about $4,000 in the hole for the year. I doubt that'll happen, because every time I think that we're not going to get non-pledge contributions, we get bunches of non-pledge contributions, and that makes up the difference. So, all in all, yes, pledges this year are down a little bit, but we are still going to do just fine. We're going to be healthy. I feel secure in the soundness of the financial position of this church, and it's all because of you. I want you all to give yourselves a big pat on the back. None of this would happen without you, without your good efforts for the community and the things that we do and your participation in this church. You're wonderful people. I am so proud to call you my friends. Now, if anybody has any questions, go for it. If you don't have questions and you, yeah.
So the money that was invested for...
With the diocese?
Correct. Any proceeds that we get from that, do those also have to be...
These are, what we received are not proceeds.
Yeah, but like we're
Those are
making, let's say we
broken
made $3,000, let's say.
They stay with the fund.
Okay, so that, that just increases what is still dedicated to the,
Yes.
okay.
Nadine has a question.
I'm just wondering how much is left to pay off the mortgage.
$152,000. Less $2,000.
$153,000.
At the end of last year. We've made one mortgage payment already this year.
Other questions?
Where are the finances for St. Mary's reflected, or are they not?
The St. Mary's finances are not reflected on this report because St. Mary's and St. Anne's still remain separate parishes.
Yeah.
So we have agreed to share some staffing in common, but we have not commingled our finances in any way beyond staffing. They are, as you can imagine, different churches have set up finances in different ways, and St. Mary's, because of differences in our history, have a completely different setup than we have, and it will be years of conversation about how and when and if we combine those finances, and that will not happen in any major way beyond shared staffing in 2023.
Right. And it'll take a little time and logistics to do that, and decisions before we even start.
Other questions?
No? You let me off the hook? Can I?
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Ruth.
you're welcome.
Ruth does an incredible job keeping our books balanced and cared for and communicated clearly to the vestry. It is a lot of work. If you've been a church treasurer before, it's a lot of work and not always visible. And we're very thankful to you for what you do. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And David Radford, we also have to thank, who is our assistant treasurer, who comes in and signs checks and makes sure that is an extra check on balance. You know, we have to have all of our controls in place, and Dave helps serve that role along with Cynthia. It is time to thank at the annual meeting. If you're new to this, annual meetings are when we bring in new officers and send away into the wild blue yonder others. And so we are saying goodbye from our vestry. Am I on the right place? I'm in the right place, yeah. Okay, we are saying goodbye from our vestry this year to Lori Trout, who served a one-year term this time. I always have to say this time. Many people have served many times. And Margie Palmer, who has ably served as a vestry member and clerk for the last 3 years, taking Margie's marvelous minutes, as Susie Scott used to say. And we are also saying goodbye to Jonelle Powers as our warden. Wardens serve 2-year terms. She served as a junior warden as we were first emerging from COVID, and as a senior warden as we were beginning a partnership conversation with another congregation. So she has the battle scars to prove it, and has led us, I won't give a whole speech here, but has led us in subtle and important ways as we have moved through this time. There has been an incredible amount of conversation going on behind the scenes to make sure that the voices of everyone in this room are represented when we have conversation, right? So that it is not, the people in the smoky room making decisions about the future of the church. But so, and Jonelle had a very special ministry of that, of making sure that she was having conversations with people and putting that in front of us as we had conversations about the future of the 2 parishes. It's been vital, and she's represented you all quite well and done a lot of work. So to all of you, thank you very much. I have small gifts for you, which you can open later, so I don't cry right here in front of everybody. Well, let's give them a hand.
I am pleased to present the following slate for election. For junior warden, Holly Williams, for her term will end January of 2025. Holly, would you stand? For vestry, Michael Meredith. Michael will be in the class of 2025. And Betty Schwalis for vestry. Betty's term will be the class of 2026. We also will be electing the representative from St. Mary's Episcopal Church for a 1-year term, Doug Murphy. And we also have the delegates to the Diocesan Convention. Those delegates, or those nominees, are Vicki Tuskin, Ruth Cotton, and Jonelle Powers. Okay, you could be seated. Thank you. Before we vote, we need 2 alternates for the convention. And these are, as an alternate, you would not necessarily attend the convention, but you would be available in case one of the elected delegates can't make it to the convention. So I'd like to open this up to the floor. Would anyone be interested in volunteering for this great opportunity? Anyone at all? Karen? Very good. Anyone else? We could use one more person. Okay, Karen Kirbyson. Very good. All right, very good. Now, could I have a motion to approve this slate for election? Alan? And could I have a second? Second. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much, and congratulations to everyone who's elected.
Just a reminder to all of our vestry members, incoming and outgoing, that we need you to stay after the meeting briefly. We have a little mini meeting so that we can appoint officers, so that they're empowered to do their work in the months to come before we have our next meeting together. And those officers are Ruth Cotton as treasurer, David Radford as assistant treasurer, and a yet unnamed saint as clerk of the vestry. And you can feel me looking at you thinking, who? So the clerk of the vestry can be, but does not necessarily have to be, a member of the St. Anne's vestry. This is a good opportunity if someone wants to just come to vestry meetings and learn about what's going on and take notes. So I hear a chuckle back there. It's fun. Vestry meetings are fun. We're not gonna put you through a kind of vote from the floor right now because you may have questions about what it means to be the clerk. It is an important role. We do need an appointed clerk for signing of certain forms, but the primary task is taking minutes at vestry meetings. You have voice but no vote at vestry meetings, and unless you're a vestry member, and you have a vote as well. So vestry members stay after class so that we can do that. Next on our agenda are rapid reports from committees. We are in the home stretch, y'all. When I say rapid, each committee, I would like you to come up here, the leader or vestry liaison from each committee, one person to come up here, give us a brief idea about what your committee is about. You've already written a report. You don't need to read it to us. We trust you, and we promise to read it. Tell us what your committee is about, and then tell people how they can get involved, who they should reach out with. I want people to have a face to a name, especially if they are new or considering joining a different committee than they might be normally a part of. If you would prefer, I can bring the microphone to you. Just let me know. And we're going to start with building. Mike Palmer.
So again, Mike Palmer with Mike Emmerich. We do the building committee. Used to be building and grounds. Now it's just the building. We keep the roof from leaking, the gutters clean, the furnace filters changed, things like that. Fire extinguishers done. But it's a lot of little things, and we could use people's help, especially if you're handy. Best way to get a hold of us is probably through Father Scott. Just letting him know that you're interested. He'll get you my contact information. We can talk about how you might fit in with our committee. I don't think there's really anything else we need to go over.
I'm coming around to grounds. Which one of you?
Hi, I'm Gloria Flanagan. Diana Bartleson and I are in charge of the grounds committee, pretty self-explanatory. And we put together an overview of some of the projects we worked on and some goals for moving forward. And we welcome any and all who wish to join us and spend some time outside. So you can contact Diana or I, and we'd love to have you. Thanks.
Thank you. Who's doing our outreach report? Is that, yeah.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Alan Stebbins. Vicki Tuscan couldn't be here today, but outreach is a very important ministry that we're taking what we do here out into the community. So this past year, we've had some really important things that we've done. Dick has led the food truck ministry. We also got a donation from a former parishioner to reinstitute the third Sunday sack lunches. And another big event that'll be coming up is St. Anne's has always been a sponsor from the very beginning of Pride Fest in June. So we'll be doing it again this year. And lastly, one of the things we did, and you'll read about, is we instituted the Vote Faithfully program to give factual information to the community about how to vote. Anyway, if you're interested in outreach, talk to Vicki Tuscan, who's not here, or Father Scott, or myself. And I think, Holly, I'm hoping you'll still be on the committee as junior warden, or you could talk to Holly about it too. So thank you. Okay, so I brought props for that too. I think I can do it. So the 90th anniversary of St. Anne's is this year. The Feast of St. Anne's comes in July, but interestingly, the actual founding of St. Anne's happened in January of 1933. So this is our anniversary month. The committee has gotten together. We're starting to look at events that we can do for the parish and for the community, because we've been an active part, as you can see from outreach, for 90 years. So we're looking at doing different types of programs over the course of the year. More to come later on that. But as a little teaser, one of the things that we've come across here is, for anybody who doesn't know, St. Anne's was featured in a Dick Tracy column in 1982. One of our former parishioners, who's since passed away, was Bev Fletcher. Her husband was Rick Fletcher. He took over doing the Dick Tracy column cartoon from Chester Gould, who was a Woodstock resident. So this is just a little teaser about some of the things we're finding and we'll be presenting later on. So thanks.
I'm Nadine, one of the members of the Parish Life Committee. There's a number of us. You can think about us as the Fellowship and Food Committee. We kind of minister to to you, all of you, the parishioners, the internal part of the church, and we oversee things like receptions and funeral lunches, picnics, brunches, lunches, anything that has to do with the fellowship of our group and food. It all equals fun. So if you like food, fun, fellowship, please join our committee. Our next thing on the agenda is 2 weeks from now, which is the breakfast with the brunch. You probably, hopefully, have seen the sign-in sheet to bring some food. It's a potluck. It's going to be a wonderful event. If you haven't signed up, take a look. Please sign up. And if you're interested in joining our committee, please let me know. There's a number of us, Michael, Lori, Nancy, Jean, Dave. There's a number of us. I'm kind of like one of the leaders, Betty. So if you are interested in food, fun, fellowship, please let us know. Join us. Thank you.
Yes. No, we're not going to separate. Any other standing committees that I missed? Okay. Karen is not really a committee unto herself, but Karen is our acolyte corps and worship assistant, and that is a ministry. We are going to be working with some of our kids to get them trained, but we're always looking for additional worship assistants. She doesn't have to do it by herself. We're allowed to have more than one person up on the altar with me every Sunday. If you're interested in that, please let us know. We are now at a place where I'm open to answering any questions that you may have, comments, outbursts, anything else about anything that we've talked about today. I thought so. Let's pray. Jonelle's going to lead us in our closing prayer.
Loving God, as we sang in our closing hymn this morning, together met, together bound, we'll go our separate ways, and as his people in this world, we'll live and speak his praise. So as we leave this place, guide us safely to our destination, direct our path, and give us the confidence to follow your direction. Lord, you have gifted us with a spirit of service that is strong, loving, and wise. Let us trust in that spirit as we work together to care for others and to build a community of care among ourselves. Help us as we struggle to follow your example of loving service to others. May we thrive in all our endeavors and be firmly rooted in your love. In your name we pray. Amen.
May I have a motion to adjourn? Ruth, second by Nadine. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Y'all go home. Thank you very much. Vestry, don't leave. Come see me.